Hi, this is Chris Hanbury from Serious Squash, and you're watching The Secrets of Solo Hitting. And before we start today, I just want to go over a couple of key points about this video. Make sure anytime you're doing one of these exercises that you go out there with a focus, and whether it's actually a target that you're trying to do, maybe you're just trying to get the drill going, that's okay, obviously, as we're starting, or maybe it's your technique. So trying to think about working on our swing so we're actually making the most of our time when we're solo hitting. You don't need to be out there for hours every day solo hitting to have a good swing, to be a good squash player, if you actually use deliberate practice properly. And that's actually just what it sounds like, actually deliberately practicing certain skills in your game where you need work. And we're going to actually look into some technical testing to see where those areas are. And hopefully you'll actually learn some new drills that you can go and try at your club, and hopefully find maybe a few tips for each of the drills as well. Welcome to straight drives. The key to winning squash is good length, and I think a lot of us know that, and I hope after you watch this section you're going to have a better understanding of what good length is, and maybe some different types of drives that you didn't use before, or maybe just some different ways you can adjust your drive, having a shorter swing, longer swing, having obviously a different idea of when to change the angle of your drive, when to lift your drive, how to hit good drives under pressure, how to hit attacking drives, how to hit with more pace, less pace. Lots of things we need to be able to adjust with our length. Really important that we practice a lot of time grooving our swing, being able to hit lots of different types of drives in different situations. And I'm going to show you my 10 favorite length drills, and hopefully that'll improve your length and you can start winning more matches. Okay, here's our first straight drive drill, and I'm starting on the forehand side, and you can see the ball is fairly warm already, and this is an important drill to be able to do in squash. We have to be able to get the ball deep from the back corners on a consistent basis. If we can't do this very well, then we're going to have a lot of trouble. We're going to have to boast a lot. We're going to be trying to volley shots maybe we shouldn't volley. So we need to learn how to get the ball out of the back corners and back deep again. I think we all know that. And it's about how do we do this, and how do we do this more accurately with more pace, and obviously hitting the ball tighter. This is a great exercise to work on our technique, and I think it's very hard to think about our swing and our technical skills, maybe your racket prep, or maybe your footwork, or your spacing, your timing, when to start your swing, how open your racket is, cocking your wrist. They take lots of hours to perfect. And we can't do that in a match. We can't think about different parts of our swing and how our spacing is while we're playing. We need to perfect that in practice, so when we go out and play, it's there, and that's just how we swing and how we hit the ball. So I think this is a great drill. Always go out there with a focus, whether it's the contact point, your footwork. You can see I'm really trying to get my weight transferred into my shots. Early racket prep, my racket's up before the ball hits the floor. And these are all things I've worked on over the years, but now I can do this drill, and I do these things instinctively without thinking, and you need to be able to ingrain them as well, so you can go and just do it in your matches, and it holds up when you're tired, it holds up when you're under pressure, and allows you to be accurate and get the ball deep from the back corners. And obviously we can build on this drill in some of the future drills. Okay, here's our first target. So I've put down a piece of masking tape, 6 floorboards from the sidewall, and we all know that hitting the ball tight and really straight in squash is really important. This is a great way to see just how straight I can keep the ball, and you can use this also to set up some technical tests. For an example, I could do 2 minutes and count the number of shots that I hit within that target, and I can move it a little tighter to the sidewall if I want to challenge myself more, or make it a little bit wider as well, depending on your experience level, your skill level. So you should know if you're straighter and tighter on the forehand or backhand, and can you also change speeds and change heights with your shots and still be accurate. You can see I started with some higher shots there from the side view, more of a medium pace drive right here, and can I hit it in that target when I actually start to really drive the ball with some speed. Obviously, once we take bigger swings, we have more torque, more twisting going on in our body, a lot more difficult to keep the ball accurate and straight, and we do have to adjust our targets. It's a great one to keep you focused on every shot. If we lose our focus just a little bit, you're going to miss the target and you're going to notice right away. So I think anytime you can use a target when you're doing some solo hitting, it's really good for your concentration and for grooving your swing. You can work on your technique as you're doing this as well, and I think just working on aiming for that target is going to help your swing as well. Straighten it out, keep you square to the sidewall, and also can you adjust and keep the ball straight when it's actually right on that sidewall, and when it is missed, if I do hit one outside of this target here, can I angle it there, can I angle it back inside of that target? So it's not always about just hitting it perfectly straight. You can see, even though I've played for a long time, my shots aren't always in a straight line. Here's drill number 3. If you look closely on the floor, you'll see a small wristband. So I'm not only trying to hit the ball straight and obviously tight, I'm also focusing on the weight of shot. So the weight of shot is obviously really important in squash, and if you can control the weight of shot really well with your drives, then you're going to create a lot of pressure against your opponent. It's really important to be able to obviously hit dying length, hit it deeper when we want to hit it deeper, and get more time to get to the tee, and obviously just calibrating our swing so we can really put the ball where we want it. And you can use different size targets, and as you progress you can move to something smaller like the wristband or the shoe here. To start with, use a racket, a piece of paper, so lots of different things you can use for targets. Again, another good way to really stay focused and stay sharp while you're solo hitting for each shot. And I think it's another one you can do to do some goal setting, test yourself and see how many times you can hit that target in a certain period of time. And I also like putting down multiple targets for this drill. I could have one shoe or one target a bit shorter, one a little deeper, and I'm trying to alternate on every shot. So there's definitely ways you can play with this drill, make it more advanced, and challenge yourself and see if you can be consistent within a few inches of that target. Or, I mean, obviously you want to hit that target every shot, but the closer you can get on every swing you hit, the more pressure you're going to be able to put on your opponent because of how accurate your shots are. I think important to be able to adjust to court conditions. We might play somewhere where the ball's really bouncy. Maybe there's a big crowd watching, it's warm outside, the courts are warmer just because maybe you're at altitude or it's summer. There's lots of reasons why it could be warmer and bouncier. So we need to be able to adjust our swing to adjust our depth of our drive. And the depth of your drive is so critical in squash. And we can change our depth by either opening our racket face or closing it, by changing our swing path. We can also obviously shorten our swing or swing harder or slower. So a combination of all those, or just one of those, we can do a lot with the squash ball. That's why it takes so long solo hitting to find out which of those skills you need to adjust so you can hit your target and adjust depending on the court conditions. And you'll probably find you're at your home club, a lot easier to kind of hit the ball where you want it. You go somewhere else, a new place for a tournament, and it's going to be pretty challenging. You can see I move my shoe up. I'm trying to hit that attacking length, second bounce in the back corner. But though again, the ball's so bouncy that I don't need to hit it very hard to get that ball landing second bounce in the back corner. So I've actually had a few drives landing in front of the shoe and coming well off that back wall. So adjust to the ball, learn how to calibrate your swing. Here's one of my favorite solo drills, and I just came up with this one a year or two ago, and it's focusing on keeping the ball really straight. So I've put a piece of masking tape half the width of the service box right to the back glass, and I'm trying to hit everything between there and the sidewall without hitting the sidewall with this ball. So very difficult. I think most people don't realize, and I didn't for a long time either, notice how often my straight drives are hitting the sidewall and not even noticing where my straight drives were hitting that sidewall. So can you keep that ball running really straight? For me, this is the Shabana drill. He was the best at that. He would just hit great lines, his drives, his drops, everything, his volleys, all very straight, and he could obviously hit that sidewall when he wanted to, but we'll get to that addition in a drill shortly. This is a really good exercise to work on our technique. I find very difficult on the forehand to try to stay square to the sidewall, because you can see how much my shoulders, my hips are rotating and opening up. So very difficult, and I find a lot of kids have trouble on the forehand keeping it tight, staying straight. So we got to practice these types of drills. They'll really help straighten your swing out and stay square so you can hit that ball straight without using that sidewall. And here's another way to do the same exercise. So just aiming for that center line on the court. You can also make this a game and aim for the back wall. So you could do this with somebody else on the other side of the court and make it a little rally. And here's the backhand, trying to keep it really straight. And to do that, you can see that at the end of my swing, my belly button should still be facing the sidewall. And a lot of people, they open up too much and their hips are open, so their shots are generally going to be going at an angle. If you can swing straight through during contact, you'll have your best chance to hit that ball straight. And here's another great angle, that drill I already showed on the forehand. Just trying to hit that red line right down the center of the court. And obviously once it's already there, then we're just trying to hit it exactly straight. But here we have to make a slight angle and adjust to get it back on target. And that's what's so challenging. And it doesn't matter how good of a squash player you are, very difficult. You're adding just fractions of a degree of an angle here. Very difficult drill. It's a really important skill to be able to learn how to hit that ball on a straight line, whether it's at an angle or right back straight to where it came from. You want to improve your racket control, your ball skill. This is definitely one of the best drills for you. Here's exercise number 5, and this is another drill I've just invented the last couple of years. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hit my first 2 shots at that tape in the middle of the service box. My third shot, I'm trying to angle into the sidewall. Instead of hitting every shot straight, I'm intentionally trying to get my third shot to die by hitting that sidewall and then take off all the energy from the ball and not come off the back wall. I think that a lot of people don't realize that the sidewall can help you with your drives when you have an angle, and we don't always want to hit the ball straight. And also realizing in this drill that if we hit that sidewall too early in our drive, our length just won't get to the back. That will change depending on the court you're playing on. All the courts bounce a little different. Sometimes they're maybe more humid, they're colder. The sidewalls do make a big difference, and how much you slice the ball also influences how that ball is going to react or bounce. And you can see from this angle that when I do hit a good shot into that sidewall around the mid-court, then it takes off so much of the pace. And that was pretty early, but I hit it pretty hard, so it still got deep. But this is an area of the game that I feel most people don't really have any clue about. You can see the difference there is just a few inches difference on that front wall, and I can either hit a drive that's not going to make it to that sidewall, or a drive that hits the sidewall too early like that and doesn't get to the back. Here we're looking at some attacking drives on the forehand, and what I'm using for a target in this drill is the back line on the service box. So I'm trying to hit that on the first bounce. You can see I've had a couple pretty close already. Here's another angle of it, and because I'm doing this on every shot, it forces me to really have an early racket prep, and very difficult. Even though there I hit a few on my front leg, very tough to hit on my front leg. I don't have a lot of time. So a lot of times when I'm doing this drill, I end up hitting open stance on my back leg. Hard to keep the pace up and hit the ball deep, and hitting the ball as it's rising. A lot of people, if they've only done overhit drives and they haven't practiced hitting drives before the back wall like this, are going to find that they're really rushed. And you know, that's part of the good thing in this drill is not only are you practicing that attacking drive, but you're also forcing yourself to create your swing quicker under pressure and still be aggressive. So being from under pressure to applying pressure on that same shot. So you can see how quickly I swing, racket prep, ready for that next shot, and working on targets as well. I think this is a really good exercise. If you haven't tried it, try it at home. Guaranteed that it'll help your racket prep, and you'll probably get pretty tired in your forearm. It's almost like doing some short hitting, which we'll get to in another section in this video. But really important drill in squash to be able to hit that ball with some pace and get your racket set early when you don't have a lot of time. Now we're looking at some other attacking drives, except this time I'm focusing on the second bounce. This time my target is actually a piece of paper on the back wall and one on the floor. So I'm trying to hit that with the second bounce. So from this angle you can see how warm this ball is and how quick it's flying. I'm trying to hit this attacking drive on every shot, and you can see whereabouts there it landed a foot inside the service box and still bounced over my target. I obviously want to hit that attacking drive second bounce in the corner, because then there's nothing left for my opponent to hit. When we're starting squash, again, the first number of years, we don't need it to be that precise in the back corners to create pressure, but people get very good at digging the ball out of that back corner with a very short swing. They can choke up on their racket, they can lift the ball, they can get under it. So if we want to be able to create pressure, we need to learn how to be this precise with our drives and when to go for these shots. I know there's a few of the top pros that will hit every shot they can like this, unless they're really under a lot of pressure. Some of us will play it just more when we have an opening, and some of us won't play the shot at all because we're not quick enough to go to the tee and can't risk going for the shot and our opponent getting it, and maybe they would just beat us with a boast. Depends on your ability. Well, obviously how hard you can hit the ball, where you need this shot to land first bounce. I think regardless of your level, important to learn how to get the ball dying in that back corner. And when you're starting, you probably need to get the first bounce in the back corner and you're going to win the rally. The ball's pretty cold, but when the ball's this warm, you have to land it quite a bit shorter, which means right now my shots are probably all maybe a foot under that service line. And I would rather leave my shot a little too deep than a little too short generally. Again, that depends on where my opponent is and maybe how much time I need to get to the tee, how much pressure I'm under. But again, I think important to be able to practice some attacking drives, work on generating some pace, and you can tell maybe compared to the first few drills that here my swing's quite a bit bigger, I have a lot more weight transfer and a lot more power. This one, there's an option. It's not a pattern. It's not one shot every time. I'm just hitting straight drives and waiting till I get a loose ball. So just a basic overhit drive, trying to keep it tight, trying to keep it deep. And whenever I hit a loose ball, that was pretty loose for my level, then I try to hit my attacking drive, which I was doing in those last two drills. There is a lot of shot selection here, and I think it's really important in squash to be able to recognize openings there, an angle, and then be able to execute that shot. I think it's one thing to work on one shot over and over and over, but also another to be able to execute the shot that it opens. And here's another way you'll see the difference in the ball speed when I want to step in and be aggressive with my shot. There's a more controlled, a very consistent swing. And then they're a little bit more aggressive with that shot. Hitting an attacking drive doesn't mean that I necessarily need to hit the ball as hard as I can. It's more about the weight of shot for that attacking length. But I am here trying to play with some pace, because generally at my level, when they can see I'm hitting drive, I'm in the back corner. If I want to hit a drive that's going to create pressure, I need it to have at least a pretty decent amount of pace on it. You can take a peek here again from the side view. I really like the side view for drives, and you can see that that shot's pretty tight. Backhand, I should be able to keep this drill going quite a while without getting too many openings. And as you get better, you're actually going to maybe look for more openings. Maybe that wasn't an opening a couple years ago, but as you get better, you try to force it a little bit, push the envelope so you can apply more pressure, keep your opponent unsettled on the tee. I think that's an important part of doing this drill as well. Recognizing there, that came quite a bit off the back wall, so even though it was a few inches off the sidewall, it's still pretty loose and easy to attack. This is different for everyone and how comfortable you are in the back corner. And that was a pretty obvious time to attack. Here's a similar drill to the last one, and what I'm doing this time is, instead of looking to play an attacking drive, I'm waiting until I get enough space to cross court. I always found this really difficult on the forehand side, and I always felt uncomfortable growing up playing squash, trying to play straight drives on the forehand, because I just couldn't be quite accurate enough with my length, and my opponents could always hit it hard and cross court. So even there, that was so simple, easy to get behind it, hit it hard, hit it by you. And this is why most people end up cross-courting everything on their forehand, because here you'll get a good look at it, is that it's so easy to get behind the ball, use our wrist, and when the ball gets behind us on the backhand side, we're under pressure, we're in a lot of trouble. This is an area that we just tend to want to avoid, but we do need to really work on it. You can tell I've already been able to cross court very early, after one or two drives sometimes. It's still something that I need to work on in my game. Almost hit the camera there, but good thing it survives. Let's take a look and see if I'm a bit more accurate on the backhand. And I think, again, the backhand, when I do cross court, hasn't happened yet, but I'm not going to be cross-courting with as much pace from the backhand, and your opponents probably won't be either, so we don't have to worry quite as much from the backhand corner, and that's why the game is played back here. It's pretty evident when you practice this drill, the difference in how the game would be played just by watching this kind of a drill happen, and seeing that, yes, here I don't get as many openings to cross-court, and when I do, generally, they're not going to be hit with as much pace. They're harder to get by somebody because they can go and reach out on their forehand as well. You got to make sure work on that forehand drive and be able to contain that cross court, and obviously be fast enough to anticipate the cross court. But if somebody can hit the ball really hard, it doesn't matter how fast you are. If they can hit it really hard, they're going to get that ball by you, even if you know it's coming. Okay, here's our last straight drive drill, and this one I'm actually trying to put myself under a bit more pressure by hitting a drive from the back, but then setting up a volley here. So setting up a volley drive, trying to hit a good volley drive, and if I do, then I'm probably lifting my drive out of the back, maybe playing off my back leg. Important to be able to play under some pressure in our solo hitting, and we tend to want to just stand there and hit the ball back to ourselves, and hard to actually try to replicate pressure we would feel in a game, but very important to do it. And you can see here, moving back into that back corner under pressure, and my shots are looser. It's pretty simple. You apply pressure to a good player, their shots aren't going to be quite as accurate, and it's all the way to the top of the game. That's the same thing. If you keep them under pressure, eventually there's going to be little cracks in the armor. Sometimes you can avoid those by applying pressure first, but everyone has to learn how to get out of pressure, how to hit good shots under pressure, lifting under pressure, moving quickly to get out of pressure. And you can see the footwork involved there, getting under the ball and lifting it and just keeping that ball alive. Obviously, the movement into the back corner here is pretty quick, but downside of this drill, I'm moving out of the shot after I float my shot. A little bit different than a normal movement out of the corner would be, but takes a lot of ball control and also really challenges your movement. Here you're moving into the back corner more from a position where you would be looking to volley, and then you realize their shot's too tight and you got to move back. Even though you're not going right from the tee, this kind of footwork, having quick feet, you can see I'm already facing the side wall, so it's lateral movement but horizontally on the court. Really important to be able to move quickly in different directions, and again, very squash specific footwork pattern here. This is the best angle for this drill, and you can see the amount of pressure I'm under. Having trouble sometimes getting this shot here right to the back or hitting it tight. Need to practice under pressure to be able to hit good shots under pressure. A lot different than the very first drill we did, overhit drives. Very little pressure. Here there's a lot more movement. Heart rate's up, sweating, and hitting a bunch of different shots as well, not just the drive from the back. Add this to your solo hitting and see if you have the skill to be able to do the drill, and then if you can, try to keep making your volley drives better and better and better, and see if you can still get the volley drives back. And when I do hit those volley drives, the last point is I do try to get up to that mid-court line, so I'm challenging my movement, making it as hard as possible. Okay, welcome to the mid-court section of this video. The mid-court area of the court is where we can apply the most pressure to our opponent, so really important to spend time working on it. Obviously, volleying is super important, we all know that, but also to shorten our swing, to learn how to generate pace, to strengthen our forearms so we can use deception in our game. If you want to be able to do that, we need to be able to do some drives and volleys mid-court so we have less time between shots, and obviously we have to get our racket prepared quicker. So this is an area that I've done lots of practice with, and I think you're going to love some of the drills you're going to find coming up. Here's 10 of my favorite mid-court slash volleying drive drills. Here are some forehand to backhand volley drives, and I'm about 1.5 to 2 feet inside the short line. But this drill can be adapted to all different levels. So you can move forwards, you can back up a bit, you can do this on the bounce, you can start off a little bit slower. If you have to, you can move your feet. Ideally, you want to be able to keep your feet planted and just have the weight transfer a little bit from one leg to the next. So you can see in my knees from this angle that I am getting weight transfer into my shot, even though my feet aren't moving. And obviously I'm also trying to keep the pace high. So once I get the drill going, I'm trying to keep the pace high. So I'm also trying to challenge myself and fatigue my arms, strengthen up my forearm. It's a really good exercise that you can use as a technical test as well. Here's some figure 8 volleys, and this is definitely the most common squash drill. And again, this drill can also be adapted. You can start on the bounce and work your way up to volleys, and even from here there's a lot of variations you can do with figure 8. I remember when I was a kid trying to spend an hour or two almost every day trying to get up to 100 figure 8 volleys, and now once you actually get good at this, it's not necessarily about getting to a large number of volleys anymore. It's more about the pace of it. So trying to pick the speed up here, you can see starting to swing a little bit harder, trying to challenge myself. And this one, if you get it going really well, fatigues your arm very quickly, and you probably feel that your forearm's grown a couple inches. That's what you want. It's a strength training exercise, and this is another variation as well. I'm just getting a little bit lower, trying to hit the ball as hard as I can, halfway between the top of the tin and the service line. You can adapt this drill, make it challenging. It's a great one to build on, and we'll see some variations of it soon. Here's volley mid-court exercise number 3, and it's double figure 8. So you can see I'm actually hitting 2 shots into one corner, one there, another there. So I'm actually doing 2 forehands right here, and now 2 backhand shots. With this exercise, you have to move your feet quite a bit, and obviously the racket skill is a little different. It's not just repeating one shot. We do have to move our feet a lot, so it is, I find, a little more challenging than regular figure 8 volleys. And if you've done a lot of figure 8s and you find them pretty simple, then this is a really good way to challenge yourself and see if you can do them as well as this, or even better. Exercise number 4 is short hitting drives on the bounce. So this is about mid-court here, and I'm actually just a step behind the short line. I'm at that spot because when I'm doing this with a group of kids, they would often end up walking closer and closer to the front wall, and then they're barely even hitting a drive anymore. It's more of a tapping shot. So if I just say stay just behind that red line, then they're going to stay behind that red line, get the ball to come through that red line. But anywhere around the red line, the short line, or just in front, just behind is fine for this drill. When you're doing it, try to make sure you're practicing on both legs. See there, I just switched to my front leg, now my back leg. An excellent drill to learn how to shorten your swing, generate good racket head speed, and also just grooving your swing, being able to generate pace with a short swing quickly, having good ball control. And it's very hard to control the ball in this drill when you're hitting it with a lot of pace, but start slower and then work your way up to increasing the speed. Again, another really good one to help strengthen that forearm, and it should really be burning after you do this drill. Here's some mid-court volley drives, and I've done this a lot over the years. I'm standing right around the short line there and just trying to get the pace going. Obviously, you got to get a rhythm going first, trying to get consecutive volley drives. But this is an excellent way to learn how to get the ball running really straight on your volley. You don't have time to bring your racket down, so a good one to groove your swing on your volleys, makes you again get your racket set quickly. And I always try to think about spacing when I'm doing this drill. I'm trying to stay further away from the ball so I can hit that ball straight because I'm a little more square. And if I was actually playing this drive in a game, then I could just from there take one step back and be back at the tee. And again, just like the short hitting on the bounce, it's important to make sure that you switch legs. So you're actually hitting some volleys on your right leg, some on your left leg, and obviously keep the pace up. If you have trouble with either leg and obviously trying to square yourself to that sidewall to keep the ball straight, then I think definitely try to practice on that leg. You can tell it's easier for me on the right leg over here on the forehand, but I'll still try to practice some shots on my front leg as well, because sometimes in squash you can't just pick which leg you want to hit off. So you have to be able to hit off either leg and just get comfortable with the weight transfer on both legs, just the ball control as well. I find this one drill is what's helped me learn how to volley a shot that's right on that sidewall. And it's something that I remember when I was a kid, always being told, don't volley when the ball's right on that sidewall. But now actually that I've done this drill for a number of years, I've learned how to keep my swing straight, pick off a volley off the sidewall, and you can tell it's, you know, an excellent drill, and it's a good way to warm up the ball. And when you watch the pros playing a match, this is part of their warm-up. The ball's cold, they don't even let it bounce. And most people in their warm-ups, they let every shot bounce, and it's just kind of a wasted opportunity to volley. This is a skill that you could practice every single time you step on court. Okay, here's exercise number 6, and it's a forehand one corner drive on the bounce. This may look similar to the short hitting that we did a couple drills ago, but it's actually quite a bit different because you're hitting into the front wall sidewall, that I'm actually taking a much bigger swing, and the sidewall slows the ball down a little bit. If you really want to try to generate more force and really focus on racket prep, I find this again another excellent twist. Really tough for racket control, really tough for strength training, good one to burn the forearm. And if you want to generate more force and improve your racket preparation, this is one of the best drills. So make sure you're hitting some on your left leg, some on your right leg, on both sides. I am comfortable hitting on my left leg on the backhand, so I don't feel like I need to necessarily hit off my right leg, even though that's your power leg and the one you want to generate pace with. It's good to be able to generate some force off both legs. Okay, here's exercise number 7, and it's one corner volley drive. So just like the last drill, except it's on the volley. And it's a great exercise to learn how to generate pace with your volleys, and obviously the accuracy is really important here too. It's much harder to control than your figure eights, and because you're actually swinging one side at a time, so instead of figure eights you might swing, finish, ready for the next shot. It's a little harder, or quite a bit harder actually, to get your racket prepared in this drill once you bring the pace up. If you want to really improve your pace and your accuracy and your racket prep on your volleys, this is probably one of the best drills you can do. This and those mid-court volley drives we looked at a couple of drills ago. Okay, here's another volley drill. So this time we're using one corner and we're hitting forehand to backhand, and you can adapt this one to any level. So you can start on the bounce, work your way up onto the volley, and then you can obviously try to increase the pace on the volleys. And once you're really good at that, then you can see it maybe from this angle that I've started to actually shorten up my backswing, and I'm trying to play the ball in front of me. kind of like how Ramy can play any shot in front of him with almost no backswing and still generate some pace with his forearm and his wrist. That's what you can do here too on this volley. Here my backswing is bigger again. Here's a different angle, and you can see kind of a bigger backswing trying to generate some pace. So I'm hitting it low, bigger swing, and then here I'm going to actually shorten up my swing again and still try to generate some force with a very short backswing. And that's what we have to do sometimes at a high level. The ball's coming quick. We don't need a full swing to generate pace on our volleys. So here's a little add-on to the drill. So you can actually do double front wall one. So you can use both corners, and you can see that I'm hitting forehand, two forehands in a row here, and then two backhands in a row. Okay, here's exercise number 9, and I really like this drill. And again, another drill that can be adapted at lots of different levels. You can start this on the bounce. You can do this a bit slower on the volley, but it's actually pretty tricky when you do slow on the volley as well. It is a good one to work on our follow through, and you'll take a peek in a minute from a different angle and see how my swing is really going here, like straight towards that next shot. For any shot in squash, if we can swing and keep our swing going towards our target longer, we're going to be more accurate. So this drill, if we don't do that, we're not going to keep that ball going straight. Really good one. You can see how my follow through finish is ready for that next shot. Really like this drill. Takes a lot of hand-eye coordination. You can do it with lots of levels, and really good for your swing path and your follow through. And if you find that easy, here's a fun little twist to it. I'm just hitting 2 sidewalls, backhand over to the forehand, sidewall to sidewall, and then sidewall to sidewall on the volley. So a little bit different, obviously swinging harder. There's more movement here because I have to go to the other side to get my next shot. A little twist on it. Obviously, if you've seen any of my videos, I've done lots of these types of skill challenges. I've done this one on one leg too, if you want to make it even harder. Have fun with it, and again, just a good way to mix up your solo routine, challenge your hand-eye coordination. Okay, here is the butterfly. So I was actually shown this drill maybe 14-15 years ago. I did hit it out of the court quite a bit, but after a bit of practice, I got pretty good at it, and I really liked the challenge of a new drill. It seemed like it's something you could do a few, and I knew I could get it. And even though these aren't shots that you want to play in a match, they do help your technique because we're having to swing here, follow through towards our target. So I do really like this drill and the last drill, even though they're not shots we're going to play in the game. Welcome to the short game section of this video. The short game is actually a lot more complicated than length is because it's something that takes a lot of confidence to hit, and there's so many different ways we can take the ball in short and from different positions and receiving balls that we need to be able to take in short. So we have to actually be able to groove all these different types of shots to actually be able to do it effectively and with confidence. And to be able to do that well, it takes tons of repetition to actually learn which muscles in the hand are really relaxed and which ones are going to be having just a bit of tension, so you can have that consistent groove swing. We need to learn how to take the ball in short when it gets bouncier, how to take it short on the volley, maybe when it's coming a bit too close to you, how to move our feet, how to counter drop and keep it really tight. So there's lots of different types of swings. It's a little more tricky than I think any other part of the game, so we need to spend a lot of time at it. Luckily, I always found this the most fun thing to work on, so hopefully you do too, and hopefully some of these drills will really help improve your short game. Okay, here are some straight drops on the bounce, and I'm starting on the forehand side, and I'm around the short line, maybe a step inside it. And you'll notice when I'm doing this, I have a few different types of swings. Some I'm hitting a bit flatter like that one. Some there that I'm hitting with an open racket face and cutting a little bit. And yes, I did hit a 10, not perfect, believe it or not. But it is actually, I think, important to make mistakes in practice. And if I did like 20 or 30 drops here and never missed one, then I'm probably aiming too high. So at my level, I need to hit a drop that's just an inch or two above the tin. At certain levels, obviously, we can aim a little bit higher. If my opponent's way out of position, then yeah, I'm probably going to aim higher as well. I'm not always aiming for 1 or 2 inches above the tin. It depends on, you know, the position of my opponent and who I'm playing and how bouncy the ball is, and obviously how confident you're feeling that day. This is the area from the court where generally you want to attack, and whether it's on the bounce or on the volley, you have to get good mid-court, taking the ball in short. Definitely try to make sure you vary your feeds when you do these types of drills. Here is just a little variation of the last drill. So I'm doing a forehand and then a backhand drop, and the feed is different. So the last one was off a straight feed, so that's actually a little bit easier. Here the feed is off of a cross court. The ball is either running towards you or away from you, and make sure that you practice both, and make sure that you practice different heights and pace of feed so you get used to taking the ball in short off of different receiving balls, and that's going to really help you in games. For a long time when I was playing, I had a lot of trouble taking pace off the ball. I worked so much on hitting it harder that eventually the ball gets so bouncy, I had trouble taking the ball in short with confidence and taking pace off the ball. This is a shot that you do need to practice a lot if you're going to take the ball in short, the ball's hot, and cut it. And I think it's something that you need to work on when you're young and early so you can develop that feel in your game. A lot of the control you have in drop shots is all about the feel in the hand and the forearm. Knowing exactly what part of your hand and forearm needs to be tense or slightly tense and what parts are really relaxed. Timing, the footwork, everything that goes into this is something that I think you need to practice all the time. This straight off cross courts, off volleys, and you can see here now I'm not hitting the sidewall with my feeds, and because the ball is actually moving away from us, the angle that we take this shot in is going to be slightly different, and we have to be able to adapt. And here's just actually some counter drops from the front, and you can see a much shorter swing. So we really need to take all these things into consideration when we practice our short game. Okay, here's one of my favorite touch drills. So this is boast, drop, drop. And you're trying to hit all the shots as good as you can. It depends how tight your second drop is. If it is really tight, it's hard to hit a really good boast, but an excellent drill to combine movement with touch. I think, again, really important to learn how to put yourself under some pressure while you're doing your solo drills. All right, so here's another counter drop drill, and what I'm doing is starting with a boast. So after I make a mistake, starting with a boast, and then drop and keep dropping as much as I can, but I'm trying to hit a good drop in each shot, and eventually I'll try to hit maybe a perfect shot and hit a tin, I think. Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah, there. So that's, you're trying to squeeze an error, and obviously I think the most important drop is that first one and that one. Then once you get kind of static and you're standing there, not quite as effective, but it's still good for your ball control and learning how to have that soft hand. You have to be able to take that ball in short with good control, keeping it super tight. You can see a lot of my counter drops here are topspin because that ball is just below the height of the tin. Have to learn how to take that ball in short from different parts of the court, and when the ball's also tight. Sometimes this is all we can do with the shot is counter drop. Sometimes it's so tight we're a bit late. If we try to do anything else, maybe it's going to be an error or a stroke. And here's another variation. Drop, boast, cross court drop. So trying to get low, kind of in a squat here, and just trying to work on our racket control as well. And here's the same drill over on the backhand side. You'll notice already that I'm trying to really stay further from the ball here. If I was in a game, then my opponent would have an angle to go inside here, and I'm trying to really lunge and reach, and I think I pulled my glute doing one of these drills, but a really good one to work on getting low, lunging, and having that control with your racket. I think it's easy to maybe do this drop shot if we're just standing there and we're under no pressure, we're not lunging, we're not moving onto this boast. So try to put yourself under some pressure, try to get on that drop early like I did there, or I got on the BOAST early, and obviously trying to work on getting low, reaching, and there. See, I played that drop quite a bit in front of me, and that's what you want to do with a counter drop if you can. Try to take it early, put pressure on your opponents. And here's just that same drill that I just did on the forehand side. Backhand straight drop, backhand trickle BOAST, forehand cross court drop. I would like to be a little lower if I could do this again, but again, working on just the accuracy of the shots, and you can see that shot was too tight. I couldn't BOAST it, which is a good thing. So try to hit shots that you can't actually keep the drill going, and you have to learn how to control those shots. It'll really help develop your touch. Try to, when you're doing this, also get that hand down low. I know a lot of people only drop the racket head and not the hand, so get the hand down low as well so you can get underneath that squash ball. So this is the first drill, or I think the only drill, that I actually work on some attacking shots from the back of the court. I really like playing forehand straight kill, but I'm doing a few drops and kind of a medium pace slice drop, and also some kill shots. I think really important to learn how to take the ball in short from the back. And even if this isn't a shot you want to play in your matches, I think it's really good because you're further from the front wall and your target. Similar to if you practice throwing a dart to a dartboard from a little further away, and then all of a sudden you got a bit closer, it should be a little easier. I like trying to practice further from my target, even if this isn't a shot you're going to play very much in a game. But of course, if you do get good at it, then it is a shot you can play. If you feel your opponent's hanging back on the court, maybe they're not watching you very closely, maybe they're not very quick to the front, maybe just to keep them honest. And even if they do see it, maybe if you have the confidence to keep it tight and play the ball in short, that you can keep working them throughout the match. So just being able to attack from the back is an important skill. If you want to get good at this, you just have to spend a lot of time working on it. Fun to work on these shots, and rewarding to pull them off, but you got to know when to play them in a match, and obviously have the skill to be able to do it. Here are some forehand volley drops, and you can see that I'm trying to really focus on my spacing to make sure that if this was a match, then my opponent would actually have to move around me back to the tee. Not that I'm trying to like stick my leg out to block, but I want to make sure that I'm taking my regular space, that I'm able to get back to the tee within a step after I play my drop as well. So I have to be able to play that shot at pretty much full extension and trying to stay away from the ball, away from the sidewall, and close to the middle of the court. You can see here is some backhand ones, and I know this is an interesting topic. Like there, I tried to actually take a few drops earlier, but I can't get the same slice and there the same action on the ball. So I really like waiting for that ball and cutting it, and I can use my wrist and actually generate a lot of cut on the ball. And I know a lot of coaches say try to take the drop earlier, and it's kind of a shorter punch shot. So it's what works for you, and you know, being able to do both is important. Obviously taking the ball early is important, but also being accurate. Here, maybe it doesn't matter if you've taken the ball a fraction of a second later, if you can hit it really tight. And that's what these shots are eventually. They're not always outright winning shots against good players. They're just pressure shots. So keeping it tight, working them to the front. If they had hit a straight drive from that backhand right now, I would want to try to move up and take it early, but you got to work on it and find what works for you. Alright, so here's just a little variation of that last drill, and it's just actually working on our volley drives and our volley drop. Hitting 2 drives on the volley here, and then a drop. So a little different. I know it might seem quite similar, but it takes a little bit different racket control. This isn't just feeding, we're actually working on our volley drives as well. And you can see I'm trying to hit my volley drives with a bit of pace, trying to think about the different swing paths from my volley drive to my volley drop. So if you watch my racket head here, there, so different action, more relaxed wrist on the drop shot. And here, same thing on the backhands. I think another little variation of that last drill, but one of my favorite drills doing this one just keeps the ball a little bit warmer as well. So you can try that last drill, just the feeding one, or you can try this one and actually get in some extra practice on your volley drives at the same time. All right, so here's one of the most fun drills you're probably going to do, and this is something you should practice all the time. And all I'm doing here is just some figure eights, aiming for nicks. Well, I haven't done too many figure eights here, mostly just feeding, but you can do this anyway. You can do a few figure eights and then aim for the neck. You can go cross-court nick, which I'm really trying to hit that backhand cross-court nick, but they're also going straight. Work forehand, work backhand, practice going for nicks, and you can practice taking it in soft, you can practice taking it in with pace, and I think, you know, learn how to take that ball in short over your head with confidence. It's hard to actually really feed well for this one, but I'm trying to feed it right through the middle. So I'm trying to learn how to handle the ball coming right through the middle, and always, you know, not sure which side the ball is going to come to, but just having that quick reaction, being on my toes and being able to pop out of the way quickly there. You could see that ball would have hit me if I hadn't moved my feet. So I think really important to learn how to handle shots that are right down the middle. And most amateurs, they lose 95% of shots that are hit right at them. They just don't move their feet quickly. They don't practice this. And obviously a lot has to do with their racket prep when they're on the tee. So making sure that you can get your racket up quickly and have it in a good position to start is really critical. Okay, here's my last solo exercise, and this is one of the most fun. So what I'm doing right here is one that I would actually finish off practice with, and it's just called 3 nicks. So I can't finish my practice until I've hit 3 nicks in a row, and you can hit any type of nick you want. And there I'm trying to go that forehand one, but you'll see I'll try to vary which nick I'm going for, if I'm doing some on the bounce, some on the volley, and it actually puts quite a bit of pressure on you. So there I hit my 2nd nick in a row, and now here I go set it up and I miss it. I'm like, because, you know, it's hard. It puts pressure on you. You're like, you know, you hit 2 good nicks and you just missed that last one. So now I came out and hit some pretty hard and was upset. So sometimes it takes a while to hit those 3 nicks, but again, it's a really fun one, and that's what squash should be. You need to learn how to hit nicks, how to take the ball in short, forehand, backhand, on the bounce, on the volley, different spots in the court. You want to be a really good attacking player. You want to play some of the shots like some of those top Egyptians can play on the circuit. Then practice this all the time, and you'll learn how to hit those shots, how to hit those angles, how to take the ball in short with confidence and with success. Okay, so here is an actual technical testing chart that I used with some of my kids a couple of years ago. And there's different standards from column and silver, gold to red. And in the very left, in those white boxes, are different tests. So forehand, backhand, for drops, serves, volleys, drives, figure eights, everything. And it's very comprehensive, and I gave them kind of targets what they should be able to get to depending on their goals. So the very right would be someone who's looking to be winning nationals for under 19 level, and the middle, the gold one, would be somebody who's top 10 standard. The silver one would be somebody who's competitive nationally. Again, this is the boys chart. The girls one's just a little different, but it's a really good way to learn how to set up some goals for yourself or your students, and to see if you can design your own test and monitor your progress. Thanks for watching The Secrets of Solo Hitting. I hope you got some good tips, learned some new drills, and that you'll go and add these into your routine and set up some technical testing to set some goals and monitor your progress. Really fun to see yourself improving and learning new skills. I really think having targets on the floor is a lot better than using targets on the front wall. I know a lot of people use targets and tape on the front wall, and I find that when I've used that in my coaching, that a lot of people actually have that tendency to look up a little bit to see where their shot's going and to get that feedback for their next shot. So I much prefer using a target on the floor, on the side wall, maybe even the back wall. And I know that it is important to think about that whole height of the front wall. A lot of people don't use it very well, and we do need to, the height we are hitting, either a drop or a boast or any shot is really important, but I don't like people looking up, obviously lifting their heads, and it's a habit that we can develop pretty easily without even knowing. And I think that I do prefer, that's why all my targets in these videos are going to be on the floor. And if you do use a target on the front wall, I encourage you to try to make sure keeping your head down while you're hitting your shot, and I think you'll be able to tell more from the swing. So the feel of your swing, kinesthetic feedback, is more important than actually using the visual feedback of our shot. So looking to see as we hit, or just maybe as we're hitting, if we're only looking at peripheral vision at our racket at the point of contact, then we're definitely taking away some focus, some attention, and we're just probably also rotating as well. So a lot of technical problems we can get into if we're actually taking our eye off the ball before we actually make contact, because we're looking to get feedback for our shot and see what we need to maybe correct for the next shot. So try to really make sure, stay through your shot if you're using targets on that front wall. Golfers go to the driving range and they hit one shot for a bunch of shots, and then they go and hit the next club. So they're not actually playing shots how they would in a game. So why would you practice 10 drives and then you go and hit 20 of your 7-irons? You're not going to do that in a game. And same with squash. We're not going to be standing there hitting a bunch of shots one after another, and that's block practice. Okay, so that's practicing one skill over and over and over again, and we do need to do that if we are learning to execute that skill. But once we actually get good at that skill, we want to add in other shots. So whether it's just one other shot, two other shots, maybe options depending on how our shot is. Squash is a very open sport, so we need to be able to play different shots in different orders in our games. And some of the drills we will go through today will be on working on that block shot, trying to work on that one specific shot. Some will be on actually doing alternative shots or a shot selection drill. So trying to think about your solo hitting and think about that golf range. What would make the most sense to transfer into your squash game? I also want to encourage you to try to mimic one of your top players. So whether at your club or at the PSA level, try to go and watch some of them and see how they hit the ball, how they move, their mannerisms you'll pick up without even really knowing. You're going to go and watch them before you go on court and try to actually mimic their swings and just their spacing, maybe the way their swing path is. You can tell they all have very unique styles. And whether you're trying to, mimic maybe Ramy Ashour or Kareem Abdul-Gawad or Gauthier, like everyone has a little bit different swing. Find one that you like, that you want to swing like and you want to be able to play like, and go watch them before you play your squash. And it's definitely going to help you. It's helped me, and that's kind of how I got to the level that I'm at. Jonathan Power, Amr Shabana, Ramy Ashour, Greg Gauthier, and Kareem Abdul-Gawad were kind of the main guys for me over the years, the last 10, 15 years. And when I was younger, obviously watching a lot of Chris Dittmar, Rodney Martin, and Jansher Khan. So those are the people that mostly, I guess, I looked up to, and I kind of looked at and learned from and tried to kind of simulate my game from theirs. So learn from watching the best players. They're the best for a reason. They have the best swings, they have the best techniques, and make sure that you go and watch and mimic them. Okay, another really important tip to add to your solo practice is trying to include some visualization. So a really simple example is maybe before you serve, trying to visualize a good lob serve and actually picking out your target. Another example that you might do a little more often within your solo practice is actually picturing, visualizing the shot that you want to hit before you hit it, especially if you're having a bit of trouble with the shot you're trying to work on. If you're working for maybe a drop shot or a nick or a straight drive, whatever that shot is, it's actually sometimes helpful to really visualize, try to picture the shot you want to execute, and actually thinking about actually maybe rehearsing the swing like in your mind, even sometimes ghosting the shot and just practicing it with your swing, trying to actually see the shot. And I think that if you do this before you hit the shot, it really helps, and it's really practicing it in your mind's eye. So maybe you've heard that term before. I think it's really effective in squash, and obviously we don't have time to do that when we're actually in our games, and harder to do in our kind of practice and drill sessions. So try to do that in your solo practice. Try to use visualization to see your shot before you hit it. And even what I mentioned before, trying to play or simulate, trying to play like those top players, is again, try to visualize that shot that they're hitting, that you see them doing on PSA TV, and then go out there, visualize it when you step on court, and then go and try to do it. Okay, I think sometimes you don't even need to necessarily know exactly what it is that you're trying to simulate. You just, maybe it's the shot, right? The actual outcome, that shot bouncing there, hit with that type of spin or whatever. Really trying to think about just visualizing that shot and then letting your body make it happen, right? And then you try it again, and then eventually get closer and closer to what you're actually seeing in your mind. And I think that's how you really can improve your solo practice. So try visualization. Okay, one important tip that I really thought about a lot while I was doing these drills and making this video is how important it is to mix up your solo practice and to make sure you practice a lot of different types of skills, and not only just for your own interest, but also for your development. And I know through my career playing squash that I practiced certain drills a lot more than other drills, and eventually got really good at those drills. And when I went out and filmed these for these videos, I wasn't really needing to think about my swing, and I was still working on accuracy. And I mean, I can still improve in a lot of these drills, but then I go and do a few other drills and work on a few different shots, and I had to think a lot more, and it was definitely pretty obvious that I was a lot more comfortable, even at my level, playing certain shots than other shots. And I think that that's definitely something to think about when you're doing your solo routine. So trying to make sure you do work on all your shots. Obviously, some things are difficult to work on by yourself in solo practice, so try to make sure you're taking care of those other shots, whether it's lobs or serves, return to serves, boasts. Have to work on those kind of shots with your partners, in your drill sessions and in your matches. But when you're doing your solo practice, especially, I found short game was a really important one. There's certain areas of the court that I'm really comfortable taking the ball in short, and then there's other areas that I just don't really use and I never really practice. So it is very specific, each swing. So if you want to have really good short game, or you want to be able to hit certain lengths from certain areas of the court and be able to change your swings depending on what shot you want to hit, then you need to really practice each of those swings. So super important. Definitely one of the key areas that if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely try to make myself think more about what I was trying to do and trying to use more variation within my practice. Maybe I still do the drills that I really like to do, but do them for less or shorter period of time, and then move on to some other ones that obviously I didn't maybe have a lot of different options when I was younger practicing these solo drills. But now that you guys should know lots of different drills, it shouldn't be about what drills you practice. You have lots of options. Try to always add a new one every time you go out there and practice. And I think just like any gym routine, you don't want to do the same routine over and over and over. Your body adapts. Challenge yourself, mix up your practices, keep it more engaging and more entertaining. And I think over the long term, you'll definitely notice that your game will be more well-rounded because of the variations.